I said this yesterday, let me repeat it. That's not going to happen.
You know, I don't normally start a show with a video, but I had to this week. You know, the president had a press conference, and I'm going to take this show to talk about what he said in the press conference itself. So let's get right into it, and here's what he talked about.
Where our middle class is growing and everyone who works hard has a chance to get ahead. So let me say a few words about the situation that's developed over the past few weeks on Capitol Hill. Here at home, the United States Congress has two pressing responsibilities: pass a budget on time and pay our bills on time. If Congress chooses not to pass a budget by Monday, the end of the fiscal year, they will shut down the government along with many vital services that the American people depend on. The good news is, within the past couple of hours, the United States Senate, Democrats and Republicans, acted responsibly by voting to keep our government open and delivering the services the American people expect.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, you got to look at it like this. Is he correct that the Senate took a vote? Absolutely. But it don't mean squat, and let me explain why. It still has to go back to the House. Now, would a House vote the way the Senate did on the bill, the way they amended it? Probably not. Actually, let me rephrase that. I almost guarantee that they won't. Now, if they do, they're going to come down to this. Yes, you got the government shutdown, but you also got the debt ceiling fight right on the horizon in a couple of weeks. They might give the president this victory for the debt ceiling fight, and that's going to be even worse, and I know that conservatives in Congress actually knows that. Now, what they're talking about the government shutdown is this. The government fiscal year starts October the 1st. There's no question about that. Now, if the government shuts down, you lose all government services. People won't get their money for our Social Security. You know, they're talking about at least the military get paid, or that's what they're saying. Congressional leaders will still get paid, which I think is a farce. Now, I talked about this on last week's show. Now, if you remember correctly, I said it was acidine, and it still is. Now, and I started thinking about it more and more, and I said, look, this comes back to when the government shut down twice in the 1990s. Now, are they angling for that again? Yes and no. Yes, they're willing to do it, but it's obviously under different circumstances. Now, even the pundits out there are even saying that this is a mistake. Reason? They'll go down in flames in the midterms. And I know they think that the American public is behind them, but look at the polls. They don't want the government to shut down. I don't want the government to shut down. I mean, I'm all for fiscal responsibility, but this is not the way to do it. Now, also during this press conference, let's take a look at another part that he said about this particular debt ceiling fight. Or excuse me, not the debt ceiling fight, the government shutdown. So let's take a look.
And in fact, if you've been following the discussion, the Republicans in the House don't even make a pretense that that's what this is about. Instead, the House Republicans are so concerned with appeasing the Tea Party that they've threatened a government shutdown or worse unless I gut or repeal the Affordable Care Act.
Now look, I am never been a biggest fan of the world of the Tea Party. I've always said they're the Pontiac Aztec of political parties. Great concept, horrible end product. And let me explain. He can blame the Tea Party all he wants, and he is only partially correct. Sorry, Mr. President, you should have did from the start what I said from the start. You should have put your foot down and said, this is it, no negotiations, especially after the Supreme Court made a ruling on it earlier this year. And that's the big thing that nobody's really talking about. Now, when this goes down on Tuesday, they might be a last-second deal like they always do, and I totally hope that does not happen, because it looks really bad on congressional leaders across the board. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you're not watching this, you need to watch this, because we'll find out real quick Tuesday morning. Everybody wakes up. What's be happening, what's going on. Now, also in this press conference, let's take a look what else he talked about.
Just now, I spoke on the phone with President Rouhani of the Islamic Republic of Iran. The two of us discussed our ongoing efforts to reach an agreement over Iran's nuclear program. I reiterated to President Rouhani what I said in New York. While there will surely be important obstacles to moving forward, and success is by no means guaranteed, I believe we can reach a comprehensive solution. I've directed Secretary Kerry to continue pursuing this diplomatic effort with the Iranian government. We had constructive discussions yesterday in New York with our partners, the European Union, the United Kingdom, France, Germany, Russia, and China, together with the Iranian foreign minister. Going forward, President Rouhani and I have directed our teams to continue working expeditiously in cooperation with the P5+1 to pursue an agreement. And throughout this process, we'll stay in close touch with our friends and allies in the region, including Israel. Now, we're mindful of all the challenges ahead. The very fact that this was the first communications between an American and Iranian president since 1979 underscores the deep mistrust between our countries, but it also indicates the prospect of moving beyond that difficult history. I do believe that there is a basis for a resolution. Iran's supreme leader has issued a fatwa against the development of nuclear weapons. President Rouhani has indicated that Iran will never develop nuclear weapons. I've made clear that we respect the right of the Iranian people to access peaceful nuclear energy in the context of Iran meeting its obligations. So the test will be meaningful, transparent, and verifiable actions, which can also bring relief from the comprehensive international sanctions that are currently in place. Resolving this issue obviously could also serve as a major step forward in a new relationship between the United States and the Islamic Republic of Iran, one based on mutual interest and mutual respect. It would also help facilitate a better relationship between Iran and the international community, as well as others in the region, one that would help the Iranian people fulfill their extraordinary potential, but also help us address other concerns that could bring greater peace and stability in the Middle East.
All I can say is, wow, he got Iran to pick up the phone. Now, granted, they were all at the United Nations, but they still picked up the phone. And he is totally correct about them not talking to us since the late 70s. Reason? In case you don't remember or don't know, there was a hostage situation. Now, at the time, President Carter sent over a elite force. That was a total disaster. It made us look really bad. Now, just getting them to this point is a monumental accomplishment by any president. And I don't care what anybody says. Now, look at it from this standpoint. Now, well, are the Iranians serious? Now, that remains to be seen, because we all know that, that their leader there can only do so much because it's the far right that runs everything. And I'm talking about the Ayatollah. Now, is he bending? Honestly, I don't know. Nobody knows, because they're not really saying much. Now, maybe the Iranians came out and said, hey, we just want to get everything done, or we'll have a peaceful solution. And that will stabilize the region tremendously. Now, Israel will be the big player in this also, and I haven't seen much from them as of this taping, what they think on the whole situation. And keep in mind, because Israel says jump, we say how high, which I think is bad anyway, but that's a different story for a different day. So, in the upcoming weeks and months, we're going to see what happens on this particular situation. Now, ladies and gentlemen, as news and notes, now, all of a sudden I had an explosion of fans come to my media page on Facebook recently. And I'll say personally, here in video, thank you. Now, obviously, if you're not very familiar with the show, I do a show every single Sunday. It usually uploads Sunday evening, somewhere between 5 and 8 o'clock. I usually post when I'm going to post it and when it's uploading. So you always get everything updated on a weekly basis. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that's it. I'd like to thank you for this week's show, and be careful, and remember, fear the ring.